Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Genki Lesson 10 question and answer live stream here at ToKini Andy. In Lesson 10, we covered comparing two or three things or more, avoiding repetition in Japanese, expressing intention, becoming in Japanese somewhere and nowhere, as well as some other things like that, and the utilization day particle. But before we get started with that, I just want to mention that if you'd like to support the ToKini Andy channel and help us get more and more Japanese content out there, please consider hitting that thumbs up button, the subscribe button, and the bell, and sharing this with anyone who you might know that is studying Japanese. Also, if you'd like to support a little bit more, please consider checking out the Patreon, where Yuki and I are your partners for things like textbook practice and Genki, all the vocabulary. We cover all the vocabulary in Genki. We make listening and shadowing videos that you can listen and, well, shadow along with Yuki's native pronunciation, as well as reading stuff. Yuki does read-alongs with graded reading material and some other stuff too, and more to come in the future. But anyway, let's go ahead and say hello to everyone who is here. Thanks for stopping in, everyone. It's good to see ya. We've got Simpy, it's been a while. Good to see you. I hope you're doing good. Aubergine Archer, I hope you're okay. I heard you said you're in the hospital. I hope you're doing okay. Stay healthy. Chris Lane and Donnie Beck and Radclaw and Dew and Come to Japan Dan. Thank you guys for being here. It's great to see you. I hope you're all having a great morning or afternoon. Oha konbannichiwa or oha banana or any of our other fun little greetings. So, no, Simpy's fine, I think. I was just saying, I hope he's doing well. But Aubergine is in the hospital, I guess. So I hope you're okay if you're watching this on the replay, Aubergine. But anyway, yeah. So today we are going to be doing the question and answer. This is more of a relaxed stream than the normal lessons, so please feel free to ask any questions that you might have about any of the things that we covered in Lesson 10, or any of the things that we covered in any other lesson, such as, or any lesson to come even. Any questions you might have is all good. Alright, Carpe Diem! Carpe Diem is here too. Carpe Diem, I always have the chat closed when I start the stream. Carpe Diem is also here. I always have the chat closed. I just open up there's a participants tab I have. And it only shows in the participants tab people who spoke within the last couple minutes. So yeah, I see you back there. I'm sorry, man. Thank you for being here as well, Carpe Diem. So, yeah. So let's go ahead and just get started. Let's go ahead and jump into talking about this again. I finally came up with some standard coloring for these lessons. I'm going to try to stick with them as much as I can. Someone, I think Carpe Diem actually was joking about my confidence in the fact of and whether or not I can stick with these colors going forward. There's lots of new grammar points and things that pop up throughout all the lessons, so I may need to add more colors, and I may make mistakes and use other colors sometimes, but for the most part I'm going to try and stick to this color scheme. I'm not going to go over all of it again. Check out Lesson 10 if you'd like to hear a detailed explanation of it. Take a screenshot if that might help you a little bit as well. Good morning, Diglets. Good morning, Austin S. Thanks for being here. May your DMs be covered all in carp. Thank you. Comparing two items in Japanese is the first thing that we covered last week. So if anyone has any questions about that, the construction was a noun plus noho ga plus another noun and plus yori followed by an adjective. So it's basically more or less of some kind of adjective. So we had examples like Nagano no ho ga Fukuoka yori samui and stuff like that. So this means that Nagano is colder than Fukuoka. And miso ramen no ho ga shoyu ramen yori oishii. So miso ramen is better, tastes better than shoyu. So it just basically it gives you some comparison with adjectives. You can't modify adjectives directly in Japanese like you can in English. So that's what we covered basically with this. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them now. How's everyone doing today? Good morning, Diglets. Good morning, Austin. And Radclaw says, Carp! アンディ君の方がユキさんより背が高いかな A little bit, not too much. 背が高い. You were very close. The construction was perfect. So when you're talking about height of people, though, or actually anything, you say 背が高い. 背が高い. So takai just means high when you're talking about tall. Se it's actually the kanji for back, I believe. But you can also say that other things, not just humans, are se ga takai. Means tall. Otherwise good. Ohiru gohan. What's your ohiru gohan today, Carpe Diem? My ohiru gohan was some delicious leftovers. Have you guys ever we've been basically frying along with other things cherry tomatoes that we've recently, they're kind of in season here. But if you fry cherry tomatoes, just drop it in whatever you're making. They're so sweet. It's been wonderful. Lots of cherry tomatoes recently. It was oishii. Well, that was fast. Would you use that of trees and buildings? 背が高いは木とかビルに使うかどうかの質問がありましたが、使おうかな? I've seen it used. Is your back, but I have seen it used for other things. I have seen it, but I don't think most of the time you would use it for trees and buildings. But I have seen it used. I read it in a book, like I was reading the other day. I've been reading a lot lately, and I saw Sega Takai for maybe it was like an animal or a tree. I think it was a tree. Something about trees, but not usually. Usually it's just for people or animals. アンディ君の方がユキさんより可愛い. Oh, that's rough. I disagree.
I agree.
How's Harry Potter? Harry Potter is awesome. I'm almost finished with the first one. I haven't had a ton of time to I want to read more, but recently the past week or so I've been putting in at least an hour or two a day. So I'm almost finished with the first one, and I figured out how to directly import. So I don't know if you guys know this, but the Kindle has a feature now called Vocabulary Builder, where if you look up a word, it will put it into a list. And they have flashcards, but the flashcard system is terrible. It's just basically you look at it and say whether or not you've mastered it or whether you want to delete it. So it's pretty useless. But I figured out how I can export them onto my computer and then export them from that program into an Anki format. Excuse me, so into like a CSV that can be imported into Anki. But unfortunately, it doesn't get me the definitions from the dictionary in Kindle. But that's okay, because when I first get a new card, basically I have an add-on. I can't remember what it's called, but I have an add-on that allows me to edit the cards directly on the review page. So I just click in the certain field, and I basically what comes out of Kindle is the example sentence that I first looked the word up in, and the word. So all I have to do is look up the definition on a dictionary, pop it into the card, put in the reading, and I'm good to go. The where is it? The add-on I was talking about is called Edit Field During Review Close, by the way, if anyone is interested in making their own decks like that. You literally just click on the field. So basically, like, if you take a look at we'll look at a Yomi-chan one. It's not the Harry Potter one, but basically what I can do is I can just click here, and I can type, close. I can type whatever I want. So show the answer. If I don't like that, I can just edit it, which is pretty cool. So I've been enjoying that quite a bit. And what happens is when I'm editing the card, I just hit again in 1 minute, and then when I come back to it, that'll be my actual test to see if I know it. But just going through that for every single card really helps it sink in, like, a lot. And I'm using a Japanese, like, not a Japanese English dictionary, but a Japanese dictionary. So by the time, like, the next day comes around, I've really got the words stuck in. It's pretty good. That was a quick off track. 嘘である。アンディ君はユキさんも可愛いである。ありがとうございます。That's cool, says Simpy. Yeah, no, it's really useful little add-on. So I highly, highly recommend it. And the Kindle, man, Now, what's the program I'm using for the Kindle that I just installed? It's called KindleMate. KindleMate. So, yeah, KindleMate, you just hook up your Kindle and it just pulls all of the vocabulary out, so if you highlight sentences that you want, not just like a vocabulary word, but you highlight a sentence, you can pull out all the highlighted sentences and then export them into Anki. Pretty sick, KindleMate. I want to be fluent by the end of this year. I know about 700 words right now. How many hours a day are you studying? And how much are you speaking? And how much are you listening to? And how much are you reading? That's my main question, Emmanuel. It's not impossible that you can become conversationally competent, completely fluent at the end of the year. I would say is nearly impossible. Conversationally comfortable and conversationally fluent, like to where you could have a comfortable conversation with people, most people in most situations without being uncomfortable. It's possible if you basically quit English and study 5 to 10 hours a day from here on for the next 4 months, maybe with a day off. Listening, reading, shadowing, learning new vocabulary, learning kanji, speaking, it would be possible. But it would be a lot of work. So, but if you're down for the work, I wish you luck. I've been dabbling in Pokemon and it's been very slow but very informative. It's pretty fun, right? Getting into the native material. Hana no hou ga gomi yori kirei de aru. That's true. Is that also correct and less controversial? Yes. Can I put a copula at the end like that? Yep. This. It's the same as this, so that would be fine as well. I still have off days after 15 years of Japanese. Agreed. I feel I have off days after 32 years of English. Yeah, we all do, man. I have them on stream sometimes. I have decided not to do my next uni Japanese course this October. I'm sad, but I will next year. Oh, that's a bummer. It's too bad. But hopefully, maybe you could skip it next time around and go on to whatever the next one is by the time you get there. I study about 7 hours a day. Well, that'll help you if you can maintain it. If you can maintain the pace. If you can maintain the pace, it's possible. You probably won't be able to read anything. Like, you won't be probably reading fluent by the end of the year, but conversationally I think it's possible if you keep that 7-hour schedule going and you're efficient with it. Good luck, man. I hope that we can help you a little bit here if you need it. So it looks like we're good on no hoga, dochi no hoga. For the questions, it was anime to manga to anime. So for two things, to dochi no hoga omoshiroi, for example. Or who is taller. So Andy to Yuki to dare no hoga se ga takai. So who is taller, Andy or Yuki? There we would use dare instead of dochi. You could use dochi, but dare probably would be better if you're talking about people in general. Now that would be good. Then I can tell them how I did it. Yeah, there you go. Someone was joking. It might have been Yuki. She said, you gotta watch out. So a couple people now have messaged me on Patreon and told me that they were able to skip semesters in their university Japanese classes because they were using these lessons and also the content on the Patreon. Mostly these lessons, I think. I don't know. Maybe it was both. But the messages were on Patreon. And Yuki was joking. She says, you're going to start getting lawsuits coming from universities who are losing money because people are skipping courses. Yuki wa yutta yo ne, sore. 大学からラオスートが来るって言ってなかったっけ？Yuki だった？ Maybe it was you. I thought it was Yuki. Maybe it was someone else that said that. But someone was joking that I might start getting lawsuits from universities. That would be fun. 言ったよね, Yuki. Super easy to get overwhelmed. I went from 0 to 1,200 vocab in 2 months and then had to completely restart because there was just too many I wasn't retaining. Yeah, that's another issue. Let's talk about that a little bit. So not all 7 hours of studying are equal. I guess, is the main thing. If you're just doing reviews or learning new words on a flashcard or space repetition app, 7 hours of that, you're gonna get way into, like, in way too deep, way too fast. Now, if you structure those 7 hours effectively, and you're doing various things, so maybe you spend an hour studying kanji, and an hour studying new vocabulary with an SRS app, and then an hour or two listening to a Japanese podcast or something, and then an hour or two reading something in Japanese, and then an hour or two doing a speaking lesson on iTalk, on Skype or something with someone. And you divide up your learning like that, 7 hours. I'd say it's sustainable, and also the results will be excellent. Now, if you do 7 hours and, like Radclaw said, do like 1,000 or 2,000 words in a super short period of time, it's very unlikely that you're going to retain most of it. It's also important when you're learning new vocabulary to find ways to use it, or at least to encounter it in real material. Basically immersion, I guess, is, in my mind, I include speaking with immersion. So being able to use it in a spoken conversation, or hearing it in a spoken conversation that you're involved in, I think is the best way to memorize or to retain vocabulary. That's been my experience. And especially if you make mistakes, like if you mess up a word, that's an excellent way to retain it. If you are corrected, or if you notice that you made the mistake, because you'll never forget it again. Another fine way to encounter it in everyday life is to, find it in a song, or in a game, or in a book, or in a YouTube video, or something like that. But basically, you have to encounter the new words in real life, not just see them in SRS, or you will forget them. I mean, where I'm at, you still have to pay the uni to skip where I'm at and take a test, but maybe. Really? They find a way to get money out of you somehow. Most universities say they're not for profits, but in America, I don't necessarily agree with the fact of whether they are or not. Find Japanese friends to hang out with for 7 hours. Honestly, the best way. Agreed. 100%. All right. The Discord helps. You can jump into voice chat and talk with, well, there's not that many natives in voice chat, but there's a couple right now. We've got Duka and Yuki, and there's a few other people. Not maybe in voice chat, but... Soldana. There's other natives too, but they usually don't show up in voice chat. Okay, so anyway, that was my sidetrack into studying for 7 hours per day. I used to study for 5 hours a day, but I had a very specific schedule, and it was very structured, and it was many different things, so it worked out. I was lucky enough to not have to pay anything to skip ahead. That's awesome. Oh yeah, you also mentioned that you were able to skip ahead this past week. Great, in the Discord. That's awesome, man. It's so cool to hear people skipping classes. I don't know if Dani was able to skip because of these lessons, but the other ones I was talking about, they were saying that. Duka is so nice, says Radclaw. I haven't talked to her at all. Yuki talked to her a little bit, but not actually spoke with her. Messaging. I got money out of mine that funded my course. LOL. I signed up for all their experiments and got paid. Nice. I'll try those tips out. Good luck, man. Congrats, Donnie. For real. That's awesome. That's 3 or 4 people now, I guess, that have skipped. But great. I'm happy to hear that. 3 or more items. Speaking of which, I need to throw these slides up on the Patreon. 3 or more items was basically, we have N3, which could be three items divided by to, so anime to manga to eiga to dore no hou ga ii. Or it can be a group of items like anime no naka de nani ga ichiban nantoka suki, for example. You have to use words like dore with 3 or more items, because dochi is only for 2 items. Dore is for 3 or more. We got to that a little bit later. That's one of the main things we covered, but something like using a group of things. Anime no naka de saiki kusuo no sainan ga ichiban omoshiroi was one of our first examples. So basically using a group of things like anime no naka de, among all types of anime, this is the most interesting or the most funny, in my opinion. And then we also had lists like バニラとチョコとイチゴの中でどれが一番好きですか? And remember, you have to use どれ. You can't use どちら or どっち here because they are only for 2 items. But if anyone has any questions on that section, please feel free to let me know. Or if you want to see any of the cards again, that's fine too. Our next section was avoiding repetition in Japanese by using the no particle, I believe. It was pretty straightforward. But I'll take a moment to allow some questions to come in. Pan says sidetrack, Psyche K is the shiznit. I thoroughly agree. Psyche Kusuo is an excellent anime. I've never read the manga, but I think I will after I finish the first 2 Harry Potters, which I got. And then I'm going to switch my Kindle over to the Japanese Kindle store because I realized I can download a bunch of like light novels off the Kindle store that I can't get in the American Kindle store. And they're fairly affordable, and like I really want to read this one called Hataraku Mao-sama. The anime was really good, but there was only 1 season, and I don't think they're continuing. It's called Hataraku Mao-sama. So it's I think it's called The Devil is a Part-Timer in English. It was really funny. So I want to read the actual novels that it's based on, but I don't want to get the hard copies. Reading on Kindle, I'm obsessed with it now. It's so fun. So I'm going to switch over to the Japanese store. But what was the point of that? Oh, yeah. So, but after I read those, I think I want to read Psyche K as well. Konnichiwa minasan, says Keckles. Only have a minute to pop on, but wanted to say hi and support the channel. Appreciate it. Thank you for stopping by. For anyone else who wants to support, please make sure you hit that like button. It helps this stream get out there for other people who might be interested in it. Appreciate it. Thank you, Keckles. どれが一番で一番 Which is the number 1 among those types of flowers? We've got sakura, peach flowers, momobana, momohana. こっちは読めない。トウカ。バイカ。sakura。これ？オウカって言うんだね。で、トウカとバイカ。Alright, I don't know my flower kanji. バイカの中でどれが一番 what? What is the number? It's just the number 1 in general? Or what is the best, like the nicest or the prettiest? So you gotta throw an adjective there usually. I mean, you can just say ichiban, but that just means which one is number 1, which may be a little bit too vague for flowers. Is that nakade a new thing for that section? Yeah, the nakade is a new thing for this section. It's when you say basically 3 things or a group of things and you say no naka. So in that thing or in that group, basically. So naka can mean in. So in that group, this group is anime, or in this group of 3 things, basically. So vanilla to choco to ichigo no naka de. So in that group of things, which one do you like the most? The ichiban means most. So that is a thing for this section, yeah. I don't remember seeing... Oh my god, Devil is a Part-Timer was hilarious. I know, I loved it. It was so good. So I want to read it. Because it keeps going past... Like, it didn't actually end there, where the anime ended. It keeps going, so I want to read the book. I can read pretty well, but my pronunciation is very poor. I can speak pretty well. My pitch accent probably isn't perfect. My reading needs work. Tilted. So we're the opposite. Oka, toka, baika. Nice. I thought I was missing something. Yes. You can also support the channel by becoming a member. Oh yes, there is that too. I haven't been mentioning that lately. But if you want to turn green with a cool badge like Carpe Diem and Keckles, becoming a member of this channel is also a possibility nowadays. Yeah, cool emoji too. どれが一番綺麗ですか? Yes, that's better. Which one is the prettiest? I'd argue Sakura, maybe? I don't know. I don't know what the third one is. こっちは何なの? バイカは何? 梅の花か。でも全部ね、同じタイプなの。Yeah, they're all basically the same, but I don't know. I like Baika.
I like Toka.
You like Toka?
Because the peachy.
Because of what it means. But which is the prettiest, I don't know. I think they may be more correct. And yes, another thing I tend to know fairly frequently, names of flowers. Yuki was a florist for a while, so she knows them very well. She knows more English names of flowers than I know English names of flowers. Like, I know nothing about flowers in English or Japanese, so... I printed out a chart of your colors just so I could double check with your slides. Nice, thank you. Keep in mind, those are only going to be accurate from lesson 10. So, from lesson 10 on, they should be accurate. You gotta hold me to that, man. And I believe Sakura Bana does exist as an archaic reading of Sakura Oka. I haven't encountered Momo Bana or Ume Bana, but they probably exist in some old book somewhere. Probably somewhere, but I don't know. Sweet, sweet emojis. Thanks, Obana no Ojo. Nice. All right, so yes. So let me know if you have any other questions on that section or any section that came before. If you've just joined us, you don't only have to restrict your questions to the section that we are on. I only go back to the slides in this question and answer stream to sort of give us something to work on, like just to refresh people's memories in case they have a question they might have forgotten about, and to keep things moving along. I like Russian roulette. Okay. Like the real one? Or the game where you put weird things in cupcakes and see who gets the mustard or the natto inside their cupcake? That's also called Russian roulette. Avoiding repetition was about this, basically replacing nouns with the no with no. And the main point of this was that you can't just do it at like willy-nilly. It has to be after the noun in question has already come up in conversation, or it has to be known, or like it's an answer to a question where the noun was mentioned. To avoid repetition of that noun, you can just use the no particle. So for example, これはアンディのクレヨン。これは雪の。This is これはアンディの水。これは雪の. I think I mentioned that in the last lesson as well. So that's basically how you can use that to sort of avoid repetitions with your slides. Russian roulette with your slides. Gotcha. Yuki 漢字は花屋であった? Yes. すごかったって. Yes, she did huge flower arrangements back in the day. Moto hanaya desu. Yuki is my kanji. Nice. Natto cupcakes. That is how I first encountered natto of Radclaw. My very first day in this city, in Nagano City, I took the train up from training down in Okayama, and I arrived here. I had just been out all night the night before. I almost missed my train. My trainers were not happy with me. And I got here and I was feeling a little bit better now that I had been on a train for about 4 or 5 hours. And my future coworker met me at the station here in Nagano City to direct me to the connecting train to where I was going to be working, which was just outside of town. It was her birthday, so she invited me to her birthday party. And I said, yeah, why not? I could make some friends on my first day here. And that's exactly what happened. But at that party, they were playing Russian roulette with cupcakes. And I got natto. And I didn't know what natto was. And it wasn't even like good natto. It was the kind that's chopped up for like crappy roll sushi. It was awful. It was so bad. So bad. A couple weeks later, there was another party, another person's birthday party, and they did Russian roulette again. And guess who got natto again? It was me. It was me. It was terrible. I couldn't eat natto for 2 years. 2 years. And I finally had some good natto at a ryokan 2 years later. And I liked it. And I've been eating it ever since. But yeah, natto cupcakes I don't recommend. Are these sayings formal? By these sayings, guess who? Welcome to the stream. I'm assuming you mean the ones that are on the screen right now, like これはアンディのクレヨン。これは雪の. No, they're not formal. I wouldn't call them formal. You could easily make them formal if we went up to, for example, Nani iro no crayon ga arimasu ka would be the formal version of this. Akai no ga arimasu would be the formal versions of these sayings. Most of the phrases that I've used so far today in the other sections were formal, but the ones for this section, this is just a very simple, straightforward section. I didn't figure there would be many questions on it, so I used informal. The next section we covered last week was tsumori. Tsumori is a very, very useful little phrase, and it means that you intend to or you plan on doing something. You don't necessarily know 100% that you'll be able to. So if you were to say iku, it means I will go or I go. But when you say iku tsumori desu or iku tsumori da, it means you intend to go. It's got the same nuance as in English. Intend to go or planning to go, it means you're probably going to go, like you're planning on it. But there's always that little room for error. Whereas with just iku, I'll go, I'm going to go, that sort of room for error isn't there. So that's sort of the nuance about it. I would say tsumori is used more often than the English intend, but maybe plan to would be a better translation in this situation. Just for some review on tsumori. If anyone has any questions on that, let me know. Natto sounds awful, says Ryu. Yeah, natto sounds good if eaten properly, says Radclaw. Yeah. There's also lots of different kinds of natto. Like there's the chopped up natto. What's that called again? Agedoufu? 納豆がめっちゃ切ってあるやつ。刻み納豆 Maybe called 刻み納豆, but I don't like that one, regardless. I still can't eat it. Tastes like garbage. I actually did a TikTok where I was... You know what? I'll just show it to you. I did a TikTok where I had to eat a bunch of different nattos. And I ate all this natto. And I had to buy a bunch of extra nattos so that I could make that TikTok. Hikiwari. It's called hikiwari. And that one was very hard to keep a straight face eating. It was terrible. I wonder if I could find that one. I put out a lot of TikToks. It's like 150 or something. It's ridiculous. I was really into that at one point. Oh, there it is. I can't remember if this is hold on. If the sound on this is gonna be a problem. Let's I can't make it. Oh, there we go. So that one in the middle is the one I'm talking about. That one is terrible. Don't eat it. Don't eat that one. Oh, that song is probably gonna get me a claim on this stream. Oops. Oh well. Anyway, I eat natto every morning. In the winter I eat natto every morning. I don't really love it when it's really hot out. But it's okay. I eat it once in a while, like once a week at the moment I eat it. It's good for you though. Shirako on the other hand, no. Absolutely not. A Japanese coworker suggested the following natto recipe. Natto, kimchi, ponzu over tofu. That sounds pretty good. I love kimchi, I love ponzu, I like natto, and I like tofu. So it'd probably be okay. I'm going all blech inside at the thought of so many fermented things together. Fermentation and I do not get along. Oh, I like fermented stuff. Forgot one ingredient, okra. Oh, that's too much neba. But I do like okra. I ate okra today. Kono ato kairu tsumori da. Perfect. Good sentence. Your toilet isn't even open by the look of it. It was open, I think. I don't remember. I already exited out of it. Hopefully it was short enough that I don't get a claim on it, but I probably will. I can't remember who owns that song, but it doesn't really matter. It's not like these question and answer streams need to be monetized. They are all equally terrible, says Chris Lane. Oh no, man. They're not bad. Becoming in Japanese was our next section. If nobody has any questions on tsumori, I'm more than happy to answer any questions you might have on it later on in the stream. Our next section was becoming. So basically becoming an adjective, a noun, becoming that thing. So, for example, not necessarily you, maybe an event or something becoming that thing. So, for example, 楽しくなる, become more fun. 楽しくなった became more fun. 楽しくならない not become more fun. 楽しくならなかった it didn't become more fun. Like my friend left. Did it get more fun after that? 楽しくならなかった it didn't become more fun. 楽しくなります it will become more fun. Or it will become more fun, basically. This is the same as the first one. I was just expressing here, or explaining here, that during the lesson last week, that naru, when you use it like this with adjectives, it conjugates like the verb naru, which is to become. So you conjugate the verb at the end. And that's pretty much how all auxiliary verbs work. You conjugate them the same way they would be conjugated if they were used alone. Some examples are 忙しくなる 綺麗になった became beautiful. 日本人にならない will not become Japanese. Let me just stir fry things and be happy. I'm fine with that. I like stir fry. Nobody has to eat natto if they don't want to. O banana yo, Walter. I'm good. How are you? 私もこの後帰るつもりです。どこに? 寝るつもりです。寝る. I read Radclaw's sentence wrong. 寝るつもりです. He's gonna sleep. For some reason, that little blob of a kanji on my screen looks like kairu. Good job, Andy. 眠りはなんである? 眠りは何である? What's your question, buddy? I'm not sure. So that was naru, becoming in Japanese. Naru alone also means becoming. Genki failed to teach that verb, I think. I don't think it's actually in the book. I don't think the verb naru on its own is in the book at all, like as a vocabulary word. Is it? I don't remember reading it when I filmed the vocabulary. Nope. It's only in here as an auxiliary verb. That's kind of funny to me. I feel like the order they teach things sometimes just, you know? It would make more sense to know what the verb means before you use it in a grammatical form. But I guess that's not true all the time. Lesson 10. Yep, that's the only place they use it, it looks like. It's not actually in the vocabulary. Oh, it is. Okay, never mind. I'm wrong. They did teach it in lesson 10. That's good. Okay. Sup, Robert Paulson, says Radclaw. Love it. His name is Robert Paulson. His name is Robert Paulson. What is sleep? Well, you're never gonna get it. Okay. 眠りは何である? 何ですかね? 寝るのは何ですか? Got it. YouTube kanji is hard when it's so small, dude. And I use dark theme. I think the streaming software for YouTube, or the streaming page, I guess, is automatically in dark mode. And white little kanji in this tiny, you can't make the text bigger in the chat. And on the dark mode, it just looks like a blob. Sleep is something that the man says you have to do. Is that the case? Who is the man, Walter? Hey, 何ですか? Dozo. Yuki's raising her hand.
わかりませんでした。眠りは。
説明してくれたよ、ここで. What is sleep? It's an English joke. An American joke. There's lots of jokes like that make sense in English. And you try to say them to Japanese people. Even if you say them in English, or you try to translate them into Japanese, like, what is sleep? Like, I know you mean you're joking that you don't get enough sleep or that sleep is for the weak or something like that. But trying to explain that in Japanese, what you actually get an actual response from many Japanese people is, American joke da ne. American joke da ne. It's an American joke. As in they don't get it. They won't get it. その What is sleep っていう冗談はだいたいなんて言えばいい十分寝らない俺とかいや寝れなくてもいいんだよ俺様とかねなんか冗談ですよですけれどほらほら全然わかんない It's a joke in English. She looks very perplexed.
どこがジョークになってるんですか？
まあ本当は寝るわけですよ小さい漢字は難しいですだよね勉強頑張ってね says Danny. Nice. Regal, Ron doesn't like that. Michael, message retracted. Michael, good evening. Good to see you. It's the best when you have to explain the joke, too. Agreed. What is question mark? Are Japanese amongst the most sleep-deprived people in the world? I don't know about in the world. I'm not really sure. But sleep-deprived, definitely. When we go to Yuki's,やめといた方がいいこの話いい Like we'll go to bed, we'll get there to her parents late at night or something. And her parents will be up and they'll go to bed at the same time we do, so maybe it's like midnight or 1 o'clock because, you know, we're visiting, so we're up a little late. We'll go to sleep and I'll wake up to go to the bathroom or something at 4 in the morning. And they're already up. Like they're awake. They're like taking showers and getting breakfast ready in the morning. They slept for 3 hours. And the next day, it's the same thing. They go to bed at like 11 or 12, and then next morning, 4:30 in the morning, they're up and going, even if it's their day off. So yes, seems to be quite common. はい。
意味わからない。
何がそれね意味わかんないんだよね They're not that old either. Like a really older people, like significantly 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s. I feel like those like people at that age get up. They sleep less, but they're still quite young. It's essentially making it out that I sleep so little that I do not know what it is. Yes, that's exactly what the joke is. But doesn't make sense in Japanese, unfortunately. Extreme hyperbole. Yep. Don't worry. Nobody will ever get it here. Nani, I am not in that level in my studies. I am hoping it was positive. こんばんは。
消されちゃった。
漫画についてを話していましたので遅刻です。No worries. Welcome. Yuki's parents are, I need something. Yes. They are on the Walter schedule. Walter, do you stay up that late? I feel like I know you're up really freaking early, but I could not actually do that. No, I couldn't either. I need at least 7 hours of sleep. 4 a.m. wake up time? It's nuts. My body literally sets my sleep time for me. I sleep at 11 p.m. I wake up always within 10 hours. Within 10 hours. I love getting up at 4 a.m. says Hugh. Yeah, you're usually up pretty early too. I like doing it once in a while. Like, I like being awake really early in the morning. I don't like waking up really early in the morning. Simpy says, kids won't let me go past 7 a.m. Fair enough. Kids change that. And I think that's part of it. When you have kids, your schedule is permanently set so that you can never sleep in again. Although my father doesn't seem to have that problem. I guess he's just been lucky in the women that he's married. No, I get like 5 hours average. Sunday is the only day I get to sleep in. Oof, that's rough. 5 hours and you have to drive a truck all day? Oof. How do you stay awake? It'd be rough. But yeah, so this past week, Was it when? Thursday. I woke up at 4:15 to go film a video with Japanese Journey. His channel's Japanese Journey. He's on YouTube. Check him out. He does vlogs and stuff and information about Japan basically. He's a German guy that lives here. He does the videos in English though, but I did a collab with him around Nagano. So, but it's so hot during the day, we decided, I guess he likes to go out really early and film before it gets hot. So I woke up at 4:15 and met him at the station at 6 in the morning, and we filmed, but it ended up taking a long time. We filmed for about 5 hours. So it was boiling hot by the time we finished, but like actually being awake at that time and riding into town when it was still relatively manageable temperature, it was really nice. I really like doing that, but I couldn't do it every day. Waking up at 4 every day, oh my god, no way. 私は昨日4時間寝ました。お疲れっす。I can't do it, man. 4 hours of sleep. In college, college I would just stay up till 5 in the morning and then sleep until noon. I've never been able to sleep small amounts. Love getting up whenever I wake up. It's usually nice, although nowadays I feel like I have so much that I need to do and want to get done that I feel guilty if I sleep past 8 or 9. Like, really guilty. But morning people are nuts, says Carpe Diem. We're way off subject. I'm fine with that. On the weekends, we'll alternate. My wife is still sleeping. Oh, nice. That's a good arrangement. Everyone should have an arrangement like that. That makes sense. I feel like in a lot of people's relationships, only one person ever gets to sleep in. But it's good to be able to alternate like that. I assume large quantities of stimulants. Caffeine, I imagine. 私の猫は午前6時に起きました。お疲れ様でした。Ian. 6 isn't so bad. Like, I could do 6. I couldn't do 6 after these live streams, because these live streams usually finish at between 10:30 and 11:30, and I'm pretty wired after a live stream. Like, the question and answer ones aren't so bad because they're very laid back and I don't put super energy into it, but the actual lessons, man, the end of those, I am wired. I can't sleep till at least 12:30 or 1. So waking up anytime before 7:30 or 8 is almost impossible. Andy-kun no what? 専攻は何である? IT. I was a IT major. I majored in IST was the name of it at Penn State. It was Information Science and Technology. I started out as a computer science major, but I had a hard time passing Calculus 2, Calc 2. My teacher didn't really speak English. Or maybe his accent was just extremely heavy. It was all the same. Either his accent was too heavy for me to understand or he didn't speak English. I don't actually know because I couldn't understand anything. So that was definitely part of it. And he was the only one teaching it. And then the moment I switched majors, there was another teacher that started teaching it. And I still had to take it for IST. But the thing is for computer science, after that I had to continue in calculus. So I had to do more. So first I had to pass that so that I could continue, but I couldn't pass it, so I couldn't continue. So I had to drop down to IST, Information Science and Technology. There was a new teacher teaching Calc 2, and I immediately passed it with flying colors because he was an excellent teacher. Or maybe it was just because I could understand him. I don't know. Regardless, Information Science and Technology. No, I was not a Japanese major. I didn't start studying Japanese until 6 months after I arrived in Japan in 2012. So right at the end of 2012, I started studying Japanese. Gasp. No coffee? I'm all natural, baby. Blasting Japanese music and talking to the ToKini Kazoku. Nice. I would not function, says Simpy. Yeah, that'd be rough, man. I'd be passing out at the wheel. Although maybe not drinking coffee makes it better. Like if you don't drink coffee at all. Caffeine is natural, says you. Don't like coffee. Fair enough. Ocha to kocha wa oishii. Fair enough. Speaking of off topic, do you find that Japanese music fans still collect CDs? Absolutely. CDs will never go out of style until fax machines go out of style, and it'll be about 20 to 30 years after that, and they will still cost at least $30 per CD. Definitely. CDs in Japan cost anywhere. Like if you get them at a live show, like self-produced CDs that you go to like little local live shows and stuff, they're generally like $5 to $10, and so I get local band stuff a lot. But if you want to get an actual album that was released by an actual record label here in Japan, you're generally spending minimum $20. Minimum $20. It's probably more like $30 on average for an actual CD. So yes, not only are they extremely expensive, people still buy them. I don't know. People like CDs. Kyoshino. I don't know what his original language was, Ryuji. I have no idea because I didn't understand what he was saying. So if he told us, I didn't know. Raptor Thumbs! It's Raptor Claw from the Discord. Welcome to the stream, Raptor Thumbs. It's a laid back one tonight. Just doing question and answer. No lessons, but thanks for stopping by. From my calc teacher taught in heavy Indian accent, I had to go and read the entire book by myself, said Red Claw. I must have done every answer in the book by myself. Oof. Yeah, it wasn't Indian, it was... I don't know where he was from, man. Maybe Eastern Europe? I'm not really sure. But it was not. Usually you can get used to people's accents. Like even in like a heavy Indian accent even. At first, if you've never encountered an Indian accent, it can be a little bit hard in the beginning, but like when you get used to it, you get used to it. It's not like indecipherable. You get used to it. And so I figured I would get used to this guy's accent. Never did. Never did. 2 or 3 semesters. This is far too ahead of me, but I just wanted to come and say hello, have fun. Thank you. Yeah, we're not actually covering anything new. We're just doing questions. So the questions can be either on lesson 10 or anything else, to be honest. You can have, if you have questions about Japanese, Japan, anything you want. We literally just, I bring up the slides so that we have something to focus us in case there are no questions or nothing to talk about, but no strict rules for the question and answer. I don't think, like, some people watch these after the fact, but I think the majority of views on this video are from the live stream. So most people, like, if someone has made it this far into this video on the replay, on the VOD, video on demand, please type boom or put a banana emoji in the comments below. I was surprised once. There were actually some comments like this late in the video, and I told people to say boom in the comments, and there were a couple people that actually watched it through, but I don't think there's many. So you're special if you made it this far on the replay, and I appreciate you. I appreciate all of you that are here right now as well. Just as much. But I appreciate you too, person on the replay. Bananas in the comments. It's a thing for my Twitch. Oh, wait, what? What did I miss here? It's a thing for my Twitch. Combination of mine and my mother's Xbox gamer tags, RaptorClaw66, thumbs to... Gotcha. Okay, I shall just chill for a bit then. Sounds good. What section, north, south, etc. do you live in Nagano? I will fly over it in Flight Sim and take some pics. I guess northern Nagano. Northern Nagano. It's Nagano City. So I live right in the middle of Nagano City. So, well, not right in the middle, like not at the station, but near City Hall. So there's an airport in Matsumoto City, which is south of Nagano. So if you take off from Matsumoto City and fly north, you'll hit Nagano City, and that's where I live. Love to see those pictures. I would love to give Flight Simulator a try. I've never actually played it before, none of the old ones or anything, but the new one looks sick. I'm only on lesson 3, but thought I'd stop and say thank you for doing these, and they are both really helpful and a lot of fun to watch. Thank you, Afterlife. I'm glad that they are helping you out. If you have any questions on any lessons you've covered up until now, please feel free to ask them, even during the question and answer. The question and answer is technically lesson 10, technically, but that's just because if nobody has any questions about anything else, we have something we can sort of focus on. But usually these are pretty free. We've been off track. Like, we haven't actually done any questions in about 20 minutes, so don't worry about that too much. Also, somewhat off topic, but do you think you'd ever do a full lesson in Nihongo? I know many unis do it, and it could be cool to try. I've considered it. I've considered doing live streams as Ando-san. My goal, not my goal, but something I'd like to do is I'd like to make a separate Ando-san channel and live stream as Ando-san in Japanese. Did I say as Ando-san? I mean, let Ando-san live stream in complete Japanese on a different channel. I think that would be a lot of fun. Teaching in 100% Japanese may be counterproductive for me. I could try. I think part of the fact, like, I'm not sure I could carry the clarity of my English explanations over into Japanese quite so well. I'd like to try, though. It could be fun. It could be fun. But we'll see. Eventually, if we get into more intermediate stuff, I will probably consider doing something more like that. Teaching Genki 1 in 100% Japanese would probably be counterproductive, I feel like. But some people might like it. I don't know. I noticed that when I went to jam bars, they would just be popping CDs in and out. I thought it was super awesome, nostalgic to see the old plastic cases. Yes. What did you historically use to learn kanji, Andy? I used Remembering the Kanji. I used Remembering the Kanji by James Hasig. And I liked it. But after that, to learn the readings, I just sort of picked them up from day-to-day life because I worked... Basically, at my job, it was 100% Japanese all day, every day. I had to write reports in Japanese. I read all the documents in Japanese. I spoke to everyone in Japanese. So I sort of picked up the actual readings and stuff that way. But learning to write them and the meanings was through remembering the kanji. That's all that really existed back when I was studying Japanese. Yeah, it never occurred to me that people would watch the replays, honestly. I find this more a time for interaction, asking direct questions. Yes. And that's how I felt about the original lessons as well. The first time I went through this book, the first time I started the Genki streams, I didn't expect it to become this. I started it for two reasons. Someone asked me a question about lesson 3, and I thought that I read the Genki chapter, and I thought it was garbage, so I decided that I wanted to teach that lesson. But I figured if I was gonna teach that lesson anyway, I might as well. I needed to work on my camera presence because I wasn't comfortable in front of a camera at all when I started this channel. Not at all. So I said, why don't I just live stream it? Like, live stream the first few lessons, and then maybe I'll get used to it. And by lesson 3, I'll actually be able to teach something. Like, I'll actually be able to have some charisma on camera. Maybe. That was my intention. But I figured nobody would really watch the replay of that. And I was wrong. I was wrong. I ran a poll at one point, and I think 80 to 90% of all of my subscribers were here for Genki. So I was like, okay, guess I'm the Genki guy now. And it worked out. I'm enjoying it. I watched the 2 parts of lesson 3 streams yesterday, so boom! After live. Ooh, I guess those were probably the old ones, yeah? I think the old one was in 2 parts. The new one is all in 1 part. But thank you for watching. Boom. Check out the Patreon for extra practice that's come to Japan, Dan. Yes, please do. Thank you. What do you think of the useful expressions sections? They don't seem to go with the chapters. Did they get expanded properly later, i.e. the directions bit in chapter 6? Yeah. They can be a little out of place, eh? I like their cultural notes. The cultural notes are nice. The hyogen notes can be nice. They can be pretty useful. Chapter 6. Is there? I don't see anything in lesson 6 unless it's the thing that's after the yeah. They're so random. Like, why not just do a lesson on this? I don't tend to cover these in my lessons. I sort of ignore them, but no, they don't really expand on them at all, unfortunately. I think it's just stuff that they feel like is important, but that they weren't able to fit into the main lessons, so they put them there. So, like, it's nice, but they probably could have justified adding some extra chapters to it. Yes, Impy was at one of the first few. It was pretty early on. That's how I found him. There are others that do Genki follow-alongs, but Andy's is the most complete and comprehensive. He sticks to a good schedule. Yes, I tried to keep the schedule going. Definitely helps. And thank you, Simpy, for still being here after all of this time. It's been like a year. It's crazy. Can't believe how much time has passed. Is Andy actually what are you talking about? No. Oh no, the veil has come off. What do you think? Okay, I missed a lot. What do you think of the useful expression? Okay. Is Andy actually Ando? What are you talking about? No way. That guy's a jerk. I'd like to do a live stream with my clone. That'd be cool. I don't know how, but it'd be cool. You'd have to have it scripted, I guess. It'd be pretty fun. Would you really let Ando-san out of his cage to stream? I think he would do very well on stream. I think he could be fun. The biggest issue with Ando-san is that well, that's not true though. Everyone that I've talked to, every Japanese person who I've talked to who knows about my channel, mostly people in Nagano City, they all love Ando-san. He's their favorite character. So I think he would do well in Japan. But for most of the learners on my channel, I feel like his Japanese is a bit too rough around the edges to be super understandable. So he'd need to be in a different channel, I feel like. Maybe Twitch, I'm not sure. When you speak in Japanese, do you think in Japanese as well? Yes, I do. I don't really think about it when I speak anymore. When I speak Japanese, like I don't think about it. A lot of people, even people I know who have spoken Japanese for a very long time, still translate from English before they speak. And it's just because they don't speak enough and they didn't practice practice the skill of speaking. It's a different skill and it's something you need to practice. A lot of people don't cover that. And the fact is that the more you practice speaking in particular and picking up phrases that go well in sentences when you're speaking as opposed to in writing and stuff like that, and maybe that you wouldn't necessarily hear in media even, like just phrases that people use naturally when they're speaking, the more you learn those on their own without worrying about what they mean in English, the easier it is to just start speaking without thinking about it. So I don't think about what I say in Japanese. Like I'm not thinking in English at all. I'm not necessarily even thinking Japanese. I'm just speaking whatever comes to mind. So, but sometimes I do I do think in Japanese as well. If I'm thinking in words, certain things for sure. And when I'm speaking to just Japanese people, absolutely. There was a cassette in cassette bar in Tokyo, I think. Bartender would pop on cassette tapes on the deck and the kids would go wild. That's awesome. Ando-san is drinking at Izakaya tonight. Yes. I'm going to hop out of stream. A friend of mine needs help with something. Have a nice stream. You too, Raptor Thumbs. Thanks for stopping by. It's good to see you. He stays out all night, I hope. He must be so difficult to live with. I kicked him out a while ago. He just stops by every once in a while. I personally can't retain any of the expressions unless I'm using them. Exactly. Non-lesson 10 question. I was doing an N5 exercise and a sample question used ya instead of to list items. What's the difference? That's actually in lesson 11, Megan. Welcome to the stream. That's next week. We cover ya. Ya is, did someone cover it yet? Nope, nobody covered it yet. So, ya is also means and, just like to, except that it's, if you think of it like a bulleted list, right? To, bulleted list, right? There's just those things in the list. If you have to. This and this and this. And that's the end of the list. But ya, it implies that there's more things in the list. It's like this and maybe other things as well. So it's almost like it implies etc. And in fact, generally the grammatically correct way to use ya is to end your list with nado, which literally means etc. But you don't usually hear people use nado in conversation, but they will say ya. And that and implies that there are more things in that list. So for example, what do I like to do? The things I like to do are, for example, yamanobori ya game o suru no ga suki desu. So I like to do things like mountain climbing and playing video games is something I could say. But that doesn't mean that those are the only things I like to do. That's what that ya is for. If I were to say yamanobori to game ga suki desu, that would mean that it really just means that the only things I like are mountain climbing and games. That's what I like, those two things. But saying yamanobori ya game ga suki desu means that I like those things, among other things. So it's a little less specific. Hope that answered your question, Megan. Almost. I think I joined the Discord around December-ish. Yeah, that might be about right. Something like that. I don't remember exactly when I started this stream. It was maybe August or September. I know it was still hot out. There's a lot of sweaty videos out there. Ando's actually cute, though. Appreciate it. Maybe January. I should ask him out sometime. Ando is very close to my opposite in terms of language use. I don't know anything about Ando. What kind of people Ando-san is into. I'll have to ask him someday. Twitch does seem way more on brand for Ando. Exactly. I feel like Ando-san would have to be on Twitch. But the other thing is that most Japanese people watch YouTube for streaming. So I feel like he would end up needing to be on YouTube because the target audience for Ando-san would almost definitely be Japanese. So I don't know. Although, you know, Dr. What's his name? Dr. Disrespect is on YouTube now. I feel like if he spoke Japanese, him and Ando-san would get along. So maybe the image of YouTube will change because of him and Ando-san will fit in. What are his girlfriends like? I have no idea. He might have boyfriends. He might. I don't know. You're going to have to ask him. That's true. Are you one? I'm not, but who knows? Banana ya ringo ga suki desu. Yes, Austin likes things like bananas and apples. Awesome, thank you. No problem. Oh, and there's a banana and an apple. Perfect. Okay. So, it's getting late. I have to go back to work tomorrow. I've been off for the past 5 weeks, so that's going to be difficult to get back into. So we should get through the last couple things. The last 2 things we covered were this. Nani ka nani mo dare ka, dare mo, doko ka, doko mo. If you want to find out more about this, I'm not going to go into it right now. I'll ask if anyone has any questions about it, but I'm not going to go into it because I ranted about it a lot back in the lesson 10, the actual live stream. So check out the, there's the stream cut, so you can just skip right to this section in the stream cut. Jump into that video and find out more about this. But if anyone has any questions on it right now, feel free to ask them. I wasn't a huge fan of how Genki covered this because in reality they didn't cover it at all. They just sort of put these on the page and left you to figure out how to use them. I didn't like that, so I covered it a little bit more. I haven't been, but I said I was considering asking. Oh yeah. Ando-san is a Baya icon. Oh yeah. Ando-san would love everyone. I agree. I don't think he'd limit himself. Does that make him a Baikon? I don't know. Beginners when they learn katakana. This is what I call... Is that a poo or a boo? YouTube won't tell me. Puto gema mubu. Puto gema mubu. Puto gema mubu. Can you see that on your screen better? Libby Schaefer. Welcome to the stream. それ読める? その最初の字がブかプか読めない. Poo? The white on black background for the either the little circle that makes it a plosive or the the 10 that makes it a b sound. It's actually impossible to see. Puto gema mubu. Beginners when they learn katakana, this is what I call a gotcha. What do you think of Ando-san, Yuki? Ooh. Andy, you've mentioned creating sentences and having your teacher check them. Did you use casual language? Thank you. Yes, I used almost exclusive casual language when I started learning Japanese because I found it easier to memorize, and I find that most of the grammar rules in Japanese are much easier to make, to learn, by starting from the dictionary form or starting from casual Japanese. And then when you learn the casual Japanese, actually going to polite Japanese is much, much easier than the other way around. Like going backwards from polite Japanese, conjugations and stuff, and grammar, backwards to casual, I found far more confusing. So going the other direction made more sense for me. But that doesn't mean you can't use, and that doesn't mean I didn't use polite Japanese at all when I was learning Japanese now. But yeah, I used these 2 books, the intermediate and the basic Japanese grammar dictionaries, and I would basically just go over grammar points. I don't remember if I started from the beginning or just went straight through to the end, or if I just picked ones that I liked, and I would go over them, and then I'd try to make sentences with them, and then I'd show them to my teacher and ask her to correct them, and then she would correct them. They were usually pretty bad, and would give me better sentences or show me where I went wrong. So I found that really helpful. I think it was pretty boring for her, but I was paying, so what are you gonna do? Hi. So yeah, and the reason for that, like, I understand what you're asking. Like, the question is whether or not you should be using casual language with a teacher. But the whole point was I was sort of paying her as a tutor to teach me casual Japanese. So it wasn't that I was speaking to her in casual Japanese. I was presenting her with casual Japanese sentences that I had created and asking her to correct them. So I think in that situation, it's perfectly fine. Hi, I'm only in chapter 3, but I saw you were live and wanted to say thank you for your videos. They've been really helpful. Thank you, Vera Soothsayer. I appreciate you stopping by and saying hello. We aren't actually covering anything right now. We're just doing question and answers and sort of a chill chat. Just talking, just chatting, I guess. But if you have any questions about anything, feel free to ask them, and I'm more than happy to ask. Pro gamer move. Pro gamer move. Gotcha. Which sounds more natural. ゲームをしたり、本を読んだりするのが好きです。or ゲームをするのや The first one is more natural. だに。The ゲームをしたり、本を読んだりするのが好きです。That's actually perfect, like a perfect sentence. ゲームをするのや本を読むのが好きです。I've never heard it put that way. I feel like it's okay. Yeah, it is okay. Yuki agrees that it's okay. But the first one is more natural, I think. Genki doesn't think we're polite enough to trust us with the true, conclusive, negative, and past forms. Agreed. Them some thick books. Yes. They're all almost exactly the same. And I have the third one, too, the advanced one. Hi, Yuki. Hey, hey.
2番目の方が日本人っぽい。
あ、そうなの？
なんかわざわざちょっと間違ってないけど。
ゲームをするのや本を読むのが好きです。ユキならそうやって言うってこと？
伝えながら言うと何々みたいな。
I see what you're saying. Yeah, but they wouldn't intentionally make it that way, I don't feel like. Yeah. Gotcha. She's saying that the second one could sound more natural because if you're thinking about pauses, not natural, but like more native. Because a Japanese person actually saying that sentence wouldn't actually have the full sentence in their mind and say, ゲームをしたり、本を読んだりするのが好きです. Like, that's just a straight statement. It would be more like, ゲームをするとか、本を読むとかが好きです. Right? So that would be more natural. So like, so your second sentence could sound more like someone is in the middle, like thinking about it. ゲームをするのや本を読むのが好きです. So yeah, like in that sense, it would be more natural, but the first sentence is more straight on grammatically correct. Genki doesn't think but yes. Well, Ando-san is like community center Oji-san, I feel like. Yeah, that's what he's based on. So Yuki just mentioned how Ando-san. See you later, Diglets. Thanks for stopping by. I might have missed you. That was a few minutes ago. But hope you have a good day. Ando-san is based on a community center old man. He's 100% based on some of my best friends who are just like 50, 60-year-old dudes that I used to drink with at community centers. Or that I still do, but this year is, the end of the world. So they don't do community center drinking or festivals anymore. End of the world that don't do festivals. The gods have abandoned us, so there's nothing to do for them. Anyway, yeah, that's why he wears all that gear. It's basically from festivals. That's what you wear to festivals. So he's stuck at the festivals as one of those old men. That's what he's based on. 100%. Gotta run. Just got through the lesson 4 videos on Patreon. Excited to finally catch a live stream. Welcome, Josh. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, I hope you're enjoying it, or at least finding useful the Patreon videos. I don't know if the Patreon videos I don't know if I'd call them enjoyable. I hope that they're useful, and I tried to make them enjoyable. But what they cover is not necessarily an enjoyable thing. It needs to be done, but it's work. But I hope you're finding them useful. Oh, 聞いてくれてありがとう。また来週 Diglets, says Yuki. Thank you. Granted, sometimes I feel too polite if I say watashi. Watashi's fine. Lots of people use watashi, even in casual conversation. So don't worry about that too much. It's not so much polite as it is that the other, like ore, is very casual. Like watashi is polite in comparison to it, but you should think about it as watashi is the neutral. It's more neutral. If you want to actually be polite, you're talking watakushi or ware, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Watashi is very neutral, and then boku is also pretty neutral but masculine. And then ore is just casual. Though I have heard people use it in formal situations. I have a question about business Japanese. If my boss were like 6 years younger than me, how would I speak to them? Ooh, that's fun. Probably... Well, they're your boss, so you'd probably use polite Japanese. Probably polite. Because I feel like more important than your age is your rank at work. But well, okay, as a foreign worker, like if you're an English teacher or something, that's actually very possible, and it's happened to me before. And in that situation, I generally used polite Japanese. As a Japanese person, the likelihood of that is very, very low. Having a boss who's 6 years younger than you, very low. Unless you're very old. ね、エンジェルおじさんは小原さんと会話してるときにはどんな日本語を使ってる？小原さんの方が年下でしょ？
そう、そうだけど一応エンジェルは、エンジェルは、はい、一応小原だから、はい、
だからこんな感じだよね。マス系とかですよね。
デスマスだけだね。
デスマスだよね。はい。
あんまりそんな超スーパー敬語じゃない。
ですよね。まあそうだけど、自分の会社の中だったら敬語とかはあんまり使わないでしょ。それの方がおかしい。でもマスです大体ですよね。なんか先生たちは私は敬語？
そう、私は皆さんに敬語で。
皆さんに敬語なの？ああ、そうなんだ。Okay, so
エンジェルも基本的にはとってもポライトだから、ユキにも敬語だよ。
ユキには敬語？
ユキにもデスマスだよ。
あ、デスマスね。はいはいはい。でもこの質問でさ、ね、この人の先輩は実は6年下だったら、年下だったらどんなデスマスだよね。その場合、
デスマスだね。
Yeah, basically, so Libby, I was just having a conversation. Yuki actually works with a guy, he's about 78, but their boss is younger, 60s. And she confirmed that the older guy uses desmas. So basically, not like super, super polite Japanese, like not like keigo or anything, but desmas. Basically polite. But then he also uses it with her, so. But Yuki usually uses keigo, like more polite Japanese. Although, でも普通に演じるとお昼食べてる時にはデスマスじゃない？Yeah, so basically, but when she's eating, like, just talking about random stuff with him, it's desmas. Which is something interesting that I've never really spoken about. Is basically, that's a level of politeness. Desmas. You can call it, that's like basically a level. Desmas. You're pretty much safe with desmas, no matter what. When in doubt, just use desmas. I think I'll dive into the Patreon too soon now. I've made it past halfway mark of Genki 1. Otsukare-sama desu, Ian. I hope you find the content there helpful. They have been super useful. I'm happy to hear that. Thank you. Again, I'm making another dumb joke. They aren't wrong. Oh, I see. I think they're enjoyable, much more enjoyable than sitting alone with the book and the audio CD. Fair enough. That I definitely wanted to get past that level at the least. I hang out with a group of Japanese retirees in a community center too. I live in the hope that I'll metamorphosize into an Ando-san form one day. Kevin-san, Space Monkey, nice, yeah. I love hanging out with the old guys in the community center. And speaking of which, even though they're much older than me, I do not generally use desmas with them. I generally speak very casually with them. I've told this story before though. I accidentally used ore when I was drunk one point, and I apologized to them, and they're like, what the hell are you talking about? We're all friends here, speak however you want. And they're very casual. Shouldn't use polite Japanese when you're not sure. When you're not sure, yeah, go with desmas when you're not sure. Desmas is the best bet. But if it's between speaking or not speaking at all, like if you don't know the polite form, but you do know how to say it in casual Japanese, then I would just speak. Get the practice. People will absolutely forgive you, and as a non-Japanese person, they will not actually consider you impolite. They probably won't even bat an eye. So I always say speaking is more important than, is the most important thing, actually doing it. But some people will disagree with me on that. But yeah, when in doubt, desumasu. Listening practice with default Genki I did not enjoy, pretty much unless you know they are younger, but most foreigners get a pass. Absolutely. Does Yuki like Keigo? Keigo ga suki desu ka? I don't like Keigo, okay. Also, as far as register goes, I'm considering just giving into my archaism magnet tendencies and defaulting to, I can't read that. Onore?
Waga.
Waga. Waga. Gotcha. Waga ware? Waga or ware? Dochika, depends on the situation, right? Also, I had a question about something I encountered reviewing lesson 8. Is using ammari suki janai practically the same as saying kirai, or is kirai stronger? I noticed Genki using both in that chapter. Yeah, ammari suki janai is a little bit softer than kirai. Kirai means you dislike it, whereas ammari suki janai means you don't like it very much, but you don't dislike it necessarily, right? Ammari suki janai, it's kind of dislike, but it's not quite that far. So it is softer. I equate kirai to being, like, I almost feel like it's hate. Like, I really don't like it. I don't like it. Whereas, I don't like it a lot is ammari suki janai. Yeah, right. But I would say daikirai for that. Like, I hate that. I don't... Shirako is not kirai for me. It's daikirai. Anko wa tabeta koto nai. Kara wakannai. But something else like kirai or... Scarabsはあんまり好きじゃないね。うん。でも、there's not much for me that I like 嫌い。タコとか。ガッツは嫌いかな。ホルモンが嫌いかな。いや、でもあんまり好きじゃない。For most things, I just use あんまり好きじゃない。There's very little that I 嫌い。But that's just a personal thing, I think. But yes, あんまり is softer. Yes, they generally take a lot of pleasure in teaching me to speak a more rough masculine way than the more feminine way I picked up from other sources. Same. And I appreciate it because you'll notice that a lot of foreigners end up speaking very feminine-like. I don't know if it could be something to do with the fact that more women in Japan are interested in English than men. So people studying Japanese in Japan tend to end up having female friends teaching them Japanese or female teachers. I don't know if that's part of it. It's definitely a part of it. I don't know if it's the main reason, or maybe textbooks teach more feminine Japanese. I'm not sure what it is, but foreigners who learn to speak Japanese in Japan often end up sounding very feminine. So when you talk to men in Japanese for the first time, or even for the 100th time, it can be very jarring because it's language you're not used to using. So it's nice to hang out with those old guys sometimes and pick up some more natural Japanese for myself. Because in English, I don't think I speak very feminine. So I'd prefer to speak the way I normally do in English and Japanese, but I definitely don't. So. Okay, that's what I assumed. I just wanted to clarify. Nice. Okay, so the final section this night, Yuki has another question. Hey. Hey. Ware, hey. 答えしてる。質問じゃなかった。これから俺はそれに使おうかなって。でも違う感じだよね。
それを基本的には使わないし、バレという。今度はほとんどどころもう 99.8% くらいって思うんですけど。
Yeah. Basically everyone that uses ware is dead or about to die. Basically, right? Age-wise.
Age-wise というかもう already
long time ago. Yeah, it's very like you could use it if you want, but pretty much nobody uses ware unless it's in reference to their company. Ware. Ware wa. Speaking of yourself in as a company, you'd use things like ware. So it would be very, very, very awkward. It wouldn't sound like the way you want it to sound if you referred to yourself as ware. I'll point that out. Also, that's the kanji that's more commonly used for it. I know that kanji too, I just find it hard to write. Fair enough. It is much easier to write the other one.
これには我がとか出てくる。
でも大体の本にはよく出てくるんだよ。
はい
ファンタジーの本とかには結構出てくる。
あと、オール、
現代語じゃない本に出てくるですよね。はい。Yeah, and it will show up a lot in books that are not from this period, such as things like this. You'll probably see ware a lot. I mean, you can, but you'll get some weird looks. But maybe that's what you're going for. I don't know. But yeah. Anyway, it is used in books quite a bit, especially in fantasy books and things like that, and older books, and when speaking of yourself as a company, like this company, ware or ware wa. I've heard some people say waga, but in formal speeches, and only in formal speeches, the person referred to themselves as ore in normal conversation, or watakushi in polite conversation, but in very, very, very formal speeches, very important speeches, I've heard him say ware or waga, but it was very rare, just so you know. That's the character most often used for I in Mandarin. Fun fact. Ooh, nice. I get weird looks on for how I speak English. Fair enough. All right. So the day particle is the last thing we covered, and I think I'm going to get going tonight because, once again, I have work for the first time in 5 months. I can't even complain about that. But I do want to be able to sleep tonight because, based on our earlier conversation. We covered de, which is basically, as someone put in the Discord channel, I say basically too much. The utilization de particle. It can mean going somewhere by a means of transportation or using something to get something else done, such as using chopsticks to eat with. So it could be by or with, basically, if you wanted to try and translate. I just said basically again. If you wanted to translate it into English, generally I don't recommend thinking of particles with their English counterpart. It's better to think of particles based on what they do as opposed to what you are able to translate them into. If you think about particles in the sense that, hey, ni can mean in or to, you'll be really confused when it's used in ways that don't mean that. And the same with the de particle. The de particle can be used to mean things like by and with, but it can also be used for other things. So memorizing it as meaning with and by will confuse you more in the long run. So it is better to think of it as a marker that marks something that is being used, like a bike or chopsticks. So think of it in terms of its usage, not in terms of its meaning when you translate it, and you will save yourself a lot of trouble in the future. And I recommend doing that with pretty much all particles. All particles. Don't bother trying to figure out what all of their millions of meanings. Basically, you can't help yourself. Yes, basically. I also tend to jokingly use wagahai, but it's from a book, a fragment of which I read. I believe Bowser the Mario character uses it, probably. It sounds like something that an evil character in a book might use. Wagahai. Or a really, really old evil wizard might say. So this is day particle. If anyone has any last questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. If anyone has any last comments or anything else they want to say, I'm more than happy to engage that. But it's almost time for us to get to sleep. So final spiel of the night. If you want to help support ToKini Andy, please hit the thumbs up. It helps these streams and other videos get out there. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't. I feel like if you're here right now, you probably already have. The bell really helps, but I know that sometimes I stream or release videos that people aren't interested in, so I completely understand if you don't hit the bell, but if you do, it certainly helps. You can hit the join button down below if you want your name to look as cool as Carpe Diem's. And of course, there is the Patreon, where we do textbook practice videos, vocabulary from Genki, where we cover all the vocabulary, let you shadow and repeat after Yuki, and listening and shadowing videos where you can basically practice listening and shadow along with the dialogues from all of these lessons, as well as the Genki lessons. And I've heard some really good feedback on those, so check those out if you get a chance. I appreciate all of you, regardless of whether you are a patron or a member, don't care. Thank you just for being here and making these streams so much fun. Simpy, we missed you too. It's really great to have you here. Thank you so much. I enjoy the streams quite a bit. It's become a part of my life more than I ever expected it to, every single Sunday. So it's great seeing you guys here every single time. Well, not everyone every single time. Obviously, I'm here every single time. So it's great seeing you guys here every single time that I'm here. Really enjoy it. Just got here, but nice stream. Thanks, Felipe. Appreciate it. Arigatou gozaimasu, says Danny. Michael says, Andy-san, 聞きたいことです。アニメとかドラマとかペアペアに分かることができますか? I think probably you meant ペラペラに分かることができますか? Do you mean me? Or do you mean, is it possible to become like that? If you mean me, yes, I pretty much understand. I understand 90, depending on the type, keep in mind. There is an anime that's based on, it takes place inside the human body. All the characters are various cells and, なんていう、あのアニメはなんだっけ? なんか体の中に起こっている。で、全部のキャラがなんか細胞とかいろんなキャラが働く細胞。It's called 働く細胞 something or other. Anyway, that has so many scientific terms that I had a very hard time following. I could follow the story, sort of, but most there was a lot I didn't understand. But any like nichijou, fantasy stuff, I can pretty much follow 90% of 95%. Cells at Work is the name of that one. I had a hard time with that one. Most like, you know, Psyche K, Seven Deadly Sins, Bleach, stuff like that, I can follow that really well. There will be words in the beginning, like the first few episodes, that I'll have a hard time with, but they'll be repeated so much that eventually I'll pick them up. So yes, I can follow. Drama's pretty much no problem. But if you're talking about yourself, yes, you absolutely can as well. It will take time though. And the most important thing is to actually watch them and try and pick stuff up from them and look up vocabulary while you're doing it. Hataraku saibo, yeah. Cells at Work, yeah. I had a hard time with that one in Japanese. I only watched the first episode, and I was like, it looks good, but I'm gonna come back to this one. ありがとう says Megan. おやすみなさい。おばなななさい、皆さん。ありがとうございますね。Yes, so yes, back to that. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for being here. And I hope you have a great day, have a great night, have a great week. I put up the Japanese subtitles to read. Yeah, I did too, but there was a lot of kanji on there that were tough for me. But I should watch it. I should learn some of those words. Some of them are quite important. But yeah. I will see you guys next Sunday for Lesson 11. I hope to see you at least once this week for some more Dragon Quest X. At least once. Yuki's been wanting to play as well. We had a weird schedule this past week, so we weren't able to get on. But hopefully we can do at least one night this week of some Dragon Quest X, so maybe we'll see you guys there. And if not, see you next Sunday. Have a great night. I'm going to run the advertisement that I always run at the end, thanking the patrons who are here. Appreciate it. You guys are awesome. And so are all of the rest of you as well. You're all awesome. Oyasumi nasai. Have a good day. Have a good night. Goodbye.
俺と同じ風に日本語を喋れるようになりたいのか?
この本持ってるのか? Then we're here to help. え、そうなの? 俺は無理って言おうと思った. On the ToKini Andy Patreon, we have listening and shadowing practice, Genki vocabulary practice, Genki textbook practice where Yuki, Ando, and I are your partners. Eventually, even workbbook practice. え、そうなの? 給料出る?
確かに。
Yeah, sure.
給料出るんだ。
After Genki 1, we'll be covering Genki 2, and eventually even intermediate textbooks. Detailed grammar lessons and Japanese Q&As will, as always, be on the YouTube for free. ToKini Andy Patreon, live right now. よろしくね。
よろしくお願いします。